Okay, so let's see. Now we're going to be working on animals. Landiel and I have been talking about it, I don't know, 45 minutes or something. I figured it'd be a good idea to bring everybody else into the conversation. Okay. Let me think. So about 10,000 provinces. We're going to have our animals moving around in the provinces. Hello. So we're basically, we're talking about animals at the moment and how to store them, how to find them, and then hopefully we'll start populating the world, because I originally got onto this question of herding animals because they can play a very big role in deciding what an ecosystem looks like. The beard, maybe. And you can loop over them instead of provinces. Hmm. Hey, King Jerk. This is entirely regarding herds of animals acting without intelligent intervention, right? Yes, that's right. Solitarian. So existing in the wild, making simple decisions. If it's a herding, if it's doesn't even necessarily need to be a herding animal. A huntable animal that exerts an influence on the ecosystem. And then if it's a predator, whether it's Champion of the Silence, we're working on animals at the moment. And so what we've done is we've created like on provinces, we're going to have animals moving around, right? They'll exist on the province as a herd, so to speak. But some herds won't really have animals that cluster very much. So you might have deer, which are in just like herds of 12 or 13 or 14, but they'll exist as a herd object, and then you'll keep the number of them there. And then they'll sort of act as a unit, right? Large herding animals might leave a province for better forage, and then herds can kind of split if they get too big or whatever. And then predators will exist on the province level too, deciding which prey to go for depending on their personal qualities as well as the potential hunted animals. And so we basically are going to define, we're in the process of defining sort of all of the potential qualities that an animal can have, from its size to its preferred food, speed, how shy it is, how aggressive it is, how horny it is. When I say how horny, I mean how spiky. When I say how spiky, I mean how much damage they can inflict on something. Right, because a predator can inflict a lot of damage with its claws or its teeth or whatever, but then you also have herbivores that can either be extremely spiky or extremely not spiky. Right, so something can have very large antlers or it might not. So an elephant, is not, like I was telling Clendale earlier, an elephant is extremely dangerous and can inflict a lot of damage. But so actually, one of the first things I was wondering is if anyone has a better term for the for how destructive an animal is, how its ability to inflict damage on something else, be it a predator or a prey species. There's basic base damage or something, right? And then you multiply the base damage with the size category or whatever. Ferociousness, that's aggressiveness, though, champion. So we have aggressiveness. So you can be not very dangerous necessarily, but be extremely aggressive. Or you can be very dangerous, but not very aggressive, right? And that'll also inform what decides to hunt what, too, right? That's interesting. Right, hippos. Hippo, I imagine, is sort of like, it's a big size, it has a decent damage modifier or whatever, and it's probably extremely aggressive, right? Threat. No, I'm not sure if I'm into threat. Another word for base damage. I still like spiky and horny. How horny an animal is. More horns, more dangerous. Impact, nah. Threat, nah. Ferocious is nah. Yes, it's a hard. That's an interesting point. Solitarian, cold-blooded versus warm-blooded. I just have to go with base damage. Base fatality rate. Come on, guys. I thought you could do better. Better than me. I can't think of anything. Word for base damage for an animal. God, it gotta be. Harm? No. Harm. Damage. Maybe it's just ravage. Indemnity. Wow. Maybe there just isn't a very good. Maybe there isn't a very good word for it. Could just be damage. Ding. Gore. Scratch. Scathe. Brindle. Never heard of that. Perilousness. Hamster 100%. Infliction. Sure. We got nothing yet. Perilousness. Yeah, perilous is like need something that's unambiguous because like you can be something can be perilous because it's just extremely aggressive, but not necessarily innate. Like so, you think of like a boar, right? Extremely aggressive, not but it doesn't have like massive claws like a lion. It's got some tusks, right? Something could be really perilous because it's super aggressive, but not necessarily above average in its ability to inflict damage, right? Yeah, may just have to go with damage because consider so you have the likeliness of an animal wanting to attack you, which is like its aggression. And then you have how much damage it can do, which is sort of like its size times its natural, aptitudes or its natural adaptations. Alice, no, keep trying. Oh well. Maybe we just have to go with damage. I don't want to though. It seems like one of the most important traits. Hazardous is interesting. Hazardous doesn't imply intentionality necessarily. Injurious. Maybe I'm just too picky. Alright. Well, let's go for damage for now. Keep things moving. I'm wondering if a herd needs a health score. Not as an animal specific variable, but as a times hard, so everyone is getting sicker, having less fat stores. It'll be useful to inform more sedentary animals when they need to move. So basically the animals that we're mainly targeting now are going to be actually the animals which tend to be prey animals in large quantities, or hunting animals, right? So, for example, right, any of your small to large grazers, right, hogs, bison, deer, reindeer, predators like bears and wolves, and etc. And then your mountain sheep and stuff like that too. The stuff that has the biggest gameplay implications. Right, yeah, we can have that. Is that everything? Let's see. Somebody's trying to talk to me. World burner. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're interested in the stuff that's near the top. Oops. Okay, so far, size, unit, species, health, province. Okay, so each one has a province ID on them, and then provinces have a list. So we'll need to update the list and the province ID every time something moves. Do we need some special constructor or destructor for herds? So animal species, destroyable true, name, size, which is afloat, grass consumption, shrub consumption. This is all sort of their preferential diets. Meat consumption, fruit consumption. Humidity reliance, right? So you'd have, I guess, you have some predators that are technically omnivores, and humidity reliance, preferred temperature, optimal flatness, prefer flat grasslands or thick forests. That's a good idea. Migration propensity, average herd size, aggression, shyness, which basically means like shyness will make an animal especially like a grazer, more likely to just go out and eat as much as they can without being too concerned about predators. Whereas if you're more shy, you consume less because you're more cautious, but less likely to be hunted. And from an optimal foraging theory perspective, that also means that a lot of hunters are just like, I'm not even going to look for this animal. It's not worth it. Migration propensity, shyness, speed, endurance, flying, activity level, base damage. Okay. Spitballing whether there might be other considerations. Ground fowl, yeah, like turkeys. How many turkeys do we want to have in the province? I don't know. We may have some background type of sort of other background huntable animals. What will happen when species go extinct? That's a good question, Silence. And the short answer is they probably just won't. Short answer is that we'll have to cheat because it'll probably be a little too easy for them to go extinct. And so what will probably happen is not a satisfying answer. But what we'll likely have to do is just assume that even if no herds are active, there is some small background number of a given species existing somewhere, right? And then so there would be a low-grade random chance for that animal to reemerge as an active herd, as opposed to just, assuming that they exist in some small background quantity. We had this same conversation before about, different races, like intelligent races. Okay, should goblins ever go permanently extinct? And it's like, well, then technically, your world kind of, I don't know. In the case of intelligent races, it's a little different. Because that's something you could toggle on or off. But if you start having certain animals go extinct permanently which serve major ecosystem roles, then you could sort of permanently you could really kind of permanently bork your, the nature of your ecosystems on the planet. So it's like, the portal's from another world. Like, oh, there have not been deer, or there have not been mountain goats for 1,000 years. Portal opens up and some demon flings a mountain goat out. Bah! Plop. Oh, there they are. We have goats again. Yeah, well, yes. Right, so this will be fun. I'm glad we're doing this right now. I'm glad we're taking this on. Because I really didn't, it sucks because I was looking, for instance, I was looking at a specific area in the world. Because this is like perfect, like temperate grassland territory. But I know we're never going to get there if we don't have the right kinds of grazing animals. We'll just end up with a bunch of sort of grasslands with some stands of trees. There'll always be some trees involved, but we really need the grazers to chop them up. He eats goats back to Earth. Okay, so it looks like Cal's gonna push that. So I guess the first order of business is we would need to This is a little tricky. We want to use Lord Yevon's method initially, and we want to fling a bunch of animals into the world. I guess first thing is we actually want to know who is going to exist where, or I guess what animals we want to have first initially. We don't want to get too complicated necessarily because we want to move ahead with this. I guess. Hold on a second. I have guests at the house. Let me go say hi, okay? I will be right back. Go ahead and think of the major classes, sort of the most important initial animals that we would need. So probably bison, something to hunt them. We want grazing animals in sort of all of the important places that they would exist. So think that over. Okay. Let's see what everybody's ideas are. Anteaters, destroyers of civilizations. Destroyers of ant civilizations. Let's see here. Let's make a list. The question is, where do we want to make that list for now? I want to make it on some scratch. Grazers. Okay, so yeah, the obvious predators: lions, tigers. We do want wild pigs. Elephants. God, that's so tricky. Elephants are great because they sure love to trample shit. But let's leave pigs off, or let's leave elephants off the list for now. I'm a little bit torn on them though. Because elephants, they're not, pound for pound, I don't think they're would be as common in the wild as, say, you know, your bison and stuff like that, but it's, we got to be selective for now. We'll do elephants eventually, I'm sure. Yeah, ungulates. How many ungulates do we want though? I guess just go with deer for now. We can subdivide them later. Oops. Question. Bovine versus bison. I believe should roughly belong to the same taxonomic family. Similarities between two animals is claiming that cattle are nothing more than domestic bison. Alright, so just go with bison. Again, we can subdivide later, in theory. Wolves, naturally. Crocodiles. Let's leave crocs out for now. Bears are an interesting case. Let's add them in for now. Interesting, like, can you think of many tropical bears? I mean, their body type, it's almost like, they're almost like have a dwarven body type, right? I believe panda bears aren't bears, right? Oh, the sun bear. Where's your range? Bears of the world. I guess, no, giant pandas are bears. But they're not tropical. Malayan sun bear. Yep. Interesting. Okay, so there is a tropical bear. Sloth bear. WTF? Wow. Just all the fucking scary bears are in temperate and Arctic areas. As their body just seems to be more appropriately adapted for those kinds of situations. It's pretty cool. Okay. Like antelope. Yeah, I'll go with antelope. I think antelope is spelled with an E though. Let's see. I'm sure they have some relation to deer. Oh, we need oh no, are they more related to goats? Wastebasket. Comprise a wastebasket taxon within the family Bovidae. Really? Seriously? I guess so, yeah. Oh, I guess you guys don't see this. So I'm moving around. So they're actually... Okay. I didn't realize Bovidae was that broad. I guess it makes sense though, right? Because you're all kind of these grass grazers. Grass is a relatively new phenomenon, right? And so probably isn't, they all share a relatively recent common ancestor because the thing they principally eat tend to be, well, let's see. That's cool. Thing is, we probably need some kinds of sheep and goats, but we don't want domestic sheep. But like sheep and goats, aren't they pretty closely related? So you got like mountain goats, right? And this goes to show you I'm not that sharp on my grazing animals. Because I love bears. Moon bears are the best bears. Well, now we have to look at what a moon bear is, don't we? Moon bear. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, camelids. Axis sheep. Alright, well, sorry moon bears, we're getting rid of you. Species of sheep native North America. Interesting. Are they up in Canada or something? Species is named for its large horns. Pair of horns might weigh a lot. Genetic testing indicates 3 distinct subspecies. It would be nice if we kind of developed sort of a perspective on the range and diet of each of these different animals so we can flesh out each major biome, right? Okay, so for everyone who's showing up, since we have a lot more people now, basically, in order to get vegetation right, now that we're working on vegetation again, we need to make sure that we have the impact of grazing animals on ecosystems accounted for. Because, let me show you the example I showed before. So like here, right? this area technically has the soil moisture of an area and the climate of basically what you would expect to be a grassland. The problem is that if you don't have enough grazing animals in this area, it'll end up being sort of a semi-forested, semi-grasslands. And so we need animals for the effect that they have on forest expansion, which is they tend to stunt them. And we might as well add the others in now because we'll need, if we zoom down to the province level, we're gonna need animals to move around from province to province so that we have some stochasticity involved. Because what we basically want grazers to do is act like a giant disturbance, or like a disturbance similar to what you would have with a forest fire, right? So they'll move into a province, they'll chomp down the grass, and then also incidentally kill tree saplings and things like that. And so they'll almost be like a forest fire disturbance that can wipe out a forest that's trying to colonize. And then they'll move away, right? And they'll chop down whatever's over here, chop down whatever's, each month they'll move around. But we want to focus right now on things that are, animals that are going to have the biggest impact on ecosystems. But then we also want to have the predators that would theoretically control them, participate in controlling their numbers. Although, if I recall, in most cases, the limiting factor of a grazer's population quantity tends to be sort of the carrying capacity of the land and much less an issue of predators. So predators tend to kind of be an edge case controlling factor when it comes to these big herds. So what we're going to do is we're going to have individual herds exist in a province, and they'll kind of roam around while they're in the province. Different animals will have different propensities to wander to other provinces depending on the circumstances. If things begin to get really scarce in the province, then even the most sedentary of animals will end up moving. So should be interesting. So that's what we're doing right now. Animals are defined in streaming assets common animals. One text file per animal. I made one so you can copy paste. Okay. Maybe we can also have an objective standards somewhere that defines the logical ranges. Rhinos and dinosaurs. Where? Okay. Let me open up source tree. Okay, so we re-enabled water. Alright, that's fine. Made vegetation monthly. Animals are defined as streaming assets, common animals. Okay. Streaming assets. Common animals. Alright. Shyness. A lot of these I think are just going to be, if they're floats, they're going to be 0 to 1. Well, here, let's do deer, right? And let's come up with some standards. Size, do we want to have like how many kilos each one is, right? Yeah, okay. So maybe we need a parallel standards sheet real quick. So let's start. No! Yeah, it is King Jerk. We'll probably, like I said, we'll probably be expanding these, subdividing. You know, if there's a significant adaptive difference between one species and another, right? Right now we need to keep it generalized, though, I think. Okay. The size of animals will be made according to the size of humans. I think we can just go with their mass, average mass. How many kilos? So here we have awesome D. Kilos. Here we're just defining ranges as a reference sheet. So I'm wondering a little bit how to handle this here. Because there is sort of like, okay, I prefer this food. Part of what this means is going to depend on how we end up coding the behavior of the herd. Yeah, for sure solitarian. So for instance, you can see broadleaf consumption, conifer consumption, right? And you have some animals that'll eat the bark off of trees too. I don't know of anything that eats pine needles, though. Let's see. Is there any animal that eats pine needles? They'll eat pine cones. I've never heard of any animal that eats pine needles, though. The adult pine needle weevil feeds on the needles of pine trees. Sure, there's got to be some, but many calories, probably like acidic or something. Pine oil, yeah. And highly acidic, yes, okay. So we can assume, oh, that's interesting. Moose eat young pines. Yeah, I know that tends to be common. Just in general, young shoots tend to be appetizing. I'm curious. Moose eating young pine tree. I'm curious how young you mean. Because I'd be curious whether they ripped them up and ate the roots. And I know deer will like eat the bark. Eco moose, okay. Sounds like a very informative. Eat on the top. Moose browsing and the impact of moose on trees is perhaps the most widely studied aspect of the knowledge map. It's amazing, the things you don't know. We have a fairly good understanding of how moose affect individual trees and forest structure and development. The main message here is that by feeding selectively on deciduous trees, moose facilitated coniferous dominance. Interesting, so they prefer broadleaf trees, apparently. An adult moose may eat as much as 7.2 to 9 metric tons of fresh biomass per year, or 30 to 40 kilograms per day in summer. Holy fuck. It feeds selectively on palatable boreal forest trees and ignores species that are less palatable. Studies on the food choice of moose show the favorite food trees are deciduous trees, goat willow, aspen, birch. Deer will eat slower growing holly saplings and often ignore faster growing oak saplings. This has been occurring ever since wolves were locally extinct. That's cool. That's tricky solitarian, right? You have to infer it, right? You have to basically, this is why we keep data on canopies, right? And so basically, if the forest is late succession with lots of tall trees, there's actually going to be less food for these kinds of animals than if it were earlier succession. But the catch is, if it's late succession, it's more likely to burn to the ground, right? So then, if it gets too late succession, now you have nothing eating the trees, and so then fire comes, burns it down. And then you have this new rapid growth, and so then your grazers kind of come in and, you know, can participate again. That's interesting. So they do target broadleaves. You know, what'll be interesting is if we just in general make broadleaves too more susceptible and vulnerable to grazing animals. Okay. Studies on the food choice of moose show the favorite trees, blah, blah, blah. No species can be browsed so heavily that there is concern about their future in the Norwegian boreal production forests, with consequences for both biodiversity and moose browse availability. Elder is not browsed as high levels of nitrogen-based defense compounds make it toxic to a moose. Among the coniferous, pine is browsed moderately, but spruce hardly at all. In general, deciduous trees are also more tolerant to browsing and are able to reallocate growth into new shoots, resulting in a more bushy growth form. In contrast, pine is quite sensitive to even moderate browsing because pine is also an important timber species. Foresters will know that when a moose eats the leader, the top shoot, of a young pine, the timber quality is much reduced because of the kink in the bole resulting from when the tree resumes its upward growth. That's interesting. Okay, so it is sort of targeting of the shoots. We're not going to be tracking stuff like rabbits, no. No rabbit herds. We'll probably keep some background data on small game for province. Because pine is also an important timber species, foresters will know that when moose eats the leader, moose damages to Scandinavian timber. Species are most severe for pine. Although birch plantations can also be negatively affected. I mean, so that's from like a timber perspective, not necessarily browsing damage on pine or most plantations. Sounds like we want moose. Yeah, sounds like we definitely want moose. Reindeer is so tricky because we don't have moss. We're not tracking moss growth, which sucks. Because can we infer? Just infer moss? Yeah, I mean, reindeer, I consider reindeer important, but the problem is we just don't. Do we lump moss in with grass is the problem. Totally unrelated, but I don't want to have a whole nother variable on a tile. Reindeer lichen. And so we may just have to sort of pretend that moss is in colder tiles, but pretty sure reindeer migrate too. One of the world's great and large animal migrations. Well, fuck me. Well, it's not really. Let's see. As summer approaches, they head north along well-trodden annual routes. Some herds may travel more than 6,000 miles to get to their summer grazing grounds. Okay, National Geographic. Aren't you cute? So then I wonder if we have a different standard of consumption for them. I don't know how to handle it. Like, large hoofed animals belong to the deer family. Caribou and reindeer are actually the same species. There are differences between caribou and reindeer, though. Caribou are native to North America, whereas reindeer are native to Northern Europe and Asia. Alaska does have some reindeer, however, imported from Siberia. Some people use the term reindeer. Yeah. Migration. Caribou make one of the world's great large animal migrations. The summer approaches, they head north. Alright, so really they're just trying to avoid the cold. Some herds may travel more than 60 miles to get to their summer grazing grounds. will spend the summer months feeding on the abundant grasses and plants of the tundra. An adult caribou can eat 12 pounds of food each day. This is also when they give birth. When the first snows fall each year, caribou turn back south. Herds. I'm curious what they do in the winter down south there. Herds of female caribou called cows leave several weeks before the males, which follow with yearling calves from their previous birthing seasons. The herds spend the winter in more sheltered climes and survive by feeding on lichens. See, this is what I don't get though. Like, why migrate? Like, should there theoretically be more food for you down south? But then I presume there's going to be competition down south. Whereas if you're specialized to be able to make the trek up north and no one else is up there to compete for that food resource, then you just kind of get it all. But then you're not really able to survive up there indefinitely. I don't know. But they could have presumably adapted to heat issues. But I mean, you think of birds that often migrate and okay. I like your hooves and antlers. Let's see here. Interesting. Preferred temperature. I don't think anything is going to be over wanting to live someplace that's over 45, but optimal flatness. Optimal flatness. Given the consumption rates, we're given kilograms on those websites. Perhaps consumption should be in kilograms too. Well, yeah, that's kind of complicated. Because there's what you're biased toward eating and how much of the thing you need to eat to survive and reproduce. It's kind of a different metric. And it's kind of also relevant to your size too, right? So you can kind of infer that, right, by size and preferred consumption. But optimal flatness. Basically, like, I am a bison. I like grasslands. I do not like having to deal with living amongst the trees or whatever. Probably leave it like this for now. Migration propensity 0 to 1. Average herd size. So these seem straightforward. Speed. We'll just go simple for now. Should be fine. So, in our hypothetical deer instance, how many kilos is a deer? How many kilos is a deer? 68. A male buck is 68, weight of the female is 45, so let's say average weight is 50 or something. Deer diet. Fruits, nuts, leaves, grass. Interesting. Pretty varied. I guess it's gonna obviously depend on species, but whoops. I guess I should move this over here, right? Connect to whatever. Oh, migration speed? Probably be okay. No, we don't care about your antlers. Why did deer eat large amount of foods, commonly eating legumes, foraging on other plants, including shoots, leaves, cacti, prairie forbs, grasses. Also eat acorns, fruit, and corn. Their special stomachs allow them to eat some things human cannot, such as mushrooms and poison ivy. Jeez. Diets vary by season according to availability of food sources. Right, they also eat hay, grass, white clover, and other foods they can find in the farmyard. Nesting songbirds. Bastards. Field mice and birds trapped in mist nets. Jeez. Right. A foraging area around 20 deer per square mile can start to destroy the forest environment. White-tailed deer is a ruminant. Yeah, that makes sense because they're so opportunistic. The white-tailed deer is ruminant, which means it has 4 chambered stomachs. Each chamber has a different and specific function that allows the deer to eat a variety of different foods, digesting it at a later time in a safe area of cover. That's fascinating. The stomach hosts a complex set of microbes. Changes the deer's diet changes the seasons. If the microbes necessary for digestion of a particular food are absent, it will not be digested. Right. Well, that goes to show you how opportunistic generalists they are, right? So, as far as what that means, here. Fruit consumption also just mean like nuts and stuff like that. Fruits, nuts. Meat consumption, not any practical quantity, honestly. Horses eat birds. Why did that fill me with horror? Video of horse eating a bird. Oh no! No! Horse eating a chicken. Oh no! Horse eats a chick in front of a hen. No, I can't watch it. I can't. Humans are not the only assholes, apparently, in the animal kingdom. Far from it. Okay. Yeah, that's especially surprising. But okay, this requires more investigation. So, like, is it an adaptation, or is it like, oh, need some have been known to kill and eat birds, especially nest fledglings in pastures. Some will eat rodents. It turns out that many herbivores, not just horses, but deer and others, will eat small amounts of meat if it is available. Huh? Yeah. Let's see what the horseaholic has to say about it. Oh my god. But it's not the first. Well, I'm wondering how meaningfully nutritious it is, you know? Oh my god, this guy again. Eating fish. In Iceland, pastured horses are provided salted fish as protein and mineral salt supplement. Horses have been known to consume raw meat and blood willingly in Arabia, New Zealand, and the United States. Lord Chamberlain of Bhutan confirmed that the 40 king's horses recently received a special meal of tiger fat and still fed their horses beef and yak meat. There was an American gelding in 1958 that routinely hunted and killed and even consumed small birds. He also repeatedly attacked humans. He was known as the freight train. Lizette, a French mare, killed and consumed a Russian officer. What? Oh man, like I knew like monkeys obviously and stuff like that, you know, like some, but Jesus, horses. So I guess it's really more of the limitation is not biological then, I guess, for the most part. The limitation is adaptive, right? Like a horse isn't going to have many opportunities to eat meat just because they don't have what's normally needed to eat meat, right? They don't have any weapon to hunt or anything like that. But if it's a baby bird on the ground that's helpless, and it's just as easy to snap it up and eat it as it would be to eat some grass, then yeah, why not? And you have to assume that grazing animals are eating, like a horse is going to eat tons of insects, right? And tons of little critters and mice that might be scampering around in the grass or whatever. So makes sense. Learn something new every day. Ate an officer. Didn't just eat killed and consumed. I am doubting this. I'm doubting this. Killer horses. Yeah, I sincerely doubt this. Okay, I'm getting off track. Deadly equines. There we go. Internationalskeptics.com. There we go. Fast moving move looks what you want, and not because they would furiously attack a living thing. In fact, yeah, this is a waste of time. Okay, let's continue. Crypt IT blogs, right? I don't think we're gonna find any reliable source on that. Okay, so we're just gonna assume deer are not eating a meaningful amount of meat. Fruit, I don't really know how to handle. I would assume that they would want to very aggressively consume fruits and nuts. Humidity reliance. Sort of. Whether they favor humid environments or not, it's not very. Preferred temperature. Tricky because it's you got seasonal variation. So it's assume just like temperate forest, 20 degrees Celsius. Optimal flatness, they will prefer forests. They will not be very migratory. Well, maybe a little more than that. Average herd size, pretty small. Aggression, not very aggressive at all, really. Not very aggressive, extremely shy. Relatively swift. Endurance. Not very durable. Flying deer? Well, Santa Claus has flying deer. Activity level fairly active. Base damage. Bucks have antlers, but okay. So that is a deer. So here's an example. Let's go ahead and go back to grazers. Wild pigs, deer, bison, antelope, moose. Camel. Mountain goat. Mountain goat's kind of sheep, though, I believe. Let's see. Rocky Mountain goat is a hoofed mammal endemic of North America. Yeah, now remember Capra, from which the domestic goat is derived. The goat, mountain goat, is an even-toed ungulate of the order blah blah blah. Includes, antelopes, gazelles, cattle. Belongs to the subfamily Caprina, along with the true goats, wild sheep. Okay. Yeah, so when I say fruit, by the way, it's a little tricky. Like, generally the seed stuff of plants, right? And that's a little tricky because, like, fruits are meant to be eaten, right? Whereas nuts, to my understanding, not meant to be eaten. Pine cones, not meant to be eaten. But sort of like the seeding bodies of a plant, right, are frequently packed with nutrition as opposed to the tissue of a plant, which is why they're typically targeted for consumption. Because the very material that was put in there that helped to nourish the plant to grow is also nourishing to the animal, unless there's some kind of toxicity associated. That's also why you have some toxicity associated with nuts but not with fruits, because the whole point of a fruit is to be eaten, so that the seed gets dispersed by the movement of the animal that eats it, and then it craps it out, and then the seeds have, some nice fresh organic matter to grow out of. So squirrels are a joke to you. Sorry, squirrels aren't going to get into the game. Okay, so I guess... Hamlet's feet some kind of... Let's see. Wild goats would be like your antelope and stuff like that, right? That's not a wild goat. Yeah, there's a reason why so many nuts have super... well, tubers are just going to be part of a plant, right? Nuts have super hard shells. It depends on the nut. Its defensive mechanisms. Wild goat. Huh. Ibex. That's cool. Is that the goat's common ancestor? See, I want something that's a shrubland inhabitant, right? Rocky areas ranging from Turkey to the Caucasus. Okay. We'll just go with wild goat for now. And camel for arid areas, moose, antelope, bison, deer, wild pigs. Let's go ahead and start adding in new files. Oops. Time to read up on pigs. Wild boar. Size. Well, let's go broader. They get pretty damn big. Holy shit. Better yet. Hi. A pig is any of the animals in the genus Sus, with an even toad and ungulate family. Pigs include domestic pigs and their ancestors, the common Eurasian wild boars. You're kind of cute. Wild swine, common wild pig, or simply wild pig. Other than the pig, I know fucking pigs, man. They'll eat meat. Sister Clay, juvenile pigs are known as piglets. Pigs are highly social and intelligent animals. With around 1 billion individuals alive at any time, the domestic pig is among the most populous large mammals in the world. Yeah, biologically similar. Apparently, humans also taste very similar to pigs. Typical pigs have a very large head, long snout. They're strengthened by a special prenasal bone. That's cool. The snout is used to dig into the soil to find food and is a very acute sense organ. There are 4 hoofed toes. Dental formula. Occasionally captive mother pigs may savage their own piglets, often if they become severely stressed. Some attacks on newborn piglets are non-fatal. Others may cause the death of piglets, and sometimes the mother may eat the piglets. Okay. It is estimated that 50% of piglet fatalities are due to the mother attacking or unintentionally crushing the newborn pre-weaned. Okay, why? I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fucked up. Term used to study the ecology that refers to the aggressive behavior displayed by the mother towards the offspring. Aggressive behavior includes being rough with, injuring, biting, attacking, crushing, and killing. While savaging behavior has been seen in multiple species, it is predominantly demonstrated in domestic pigs. As the definition of savaging is so broad, research on the prevalence of savaging behavior varies, with reports of little savaging of offspring to savaging of offspring in the 20th percentile. I'm curious whether how often this happens in wild pigs. This does not necessarily relate directly to songs of the Eons, but my curiosity has been piqued. Prevalence of aggressive, because it just does not seem like a very Darwinianly smart thing to do. Prevalence of aggressive, non-fatal savaging is greater in gilts, as piglet-focused aggression is more frequent in young animals than sows. Occurrence of savaging demonstrated by sows is greater if the sow has previously savaged her offspring, either as a gilt or a sow. What is a gilt? Gilt is what, a young female? Savaging behavior usually occurs during the first days after parturition. See, I'm wondering if it's a way to recoup the resources spent. If a sow evaluates that she's produced too many offspring, it's like, okay, compensate. Prevalence of savaging is similar among first and second farrowing cycles. Savaging behavior has a significant impact on both agriculture, economy, and animal welfare. Evidence has been found that savaging sows may be genetically less likely to crush piglets. There's tend to exist in research supporting that savaging sows can be competent mothers. High levels of estradiol in postpartum and high levels of pre-farrowing estradiol. More savaging behavior. I imagine when they're stressed, they're going to do it way more often. Huh.
Hey.
Interesting. Yep.
What do you want for dinner?
I don't know. What's
We could do mahi or steak.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Okay. Blame it on the humans. Jeez. Savaging another species. Here we go. Savaging of offspring by the biological mother has been reported in multiple species, including farmed silver foxes, farmed wild boar, and domestic breeds of farmed pigs. Though aggressive savaging behavior is demonstrated by other species, it is most commonly used to describe pig aggression. Research has shown that primiparous silver foxes demonstrate savaging shortly after birth. With a 37% chance of killing the offspring through bite wounds. Silver foxes have been shown to engage in savaging behavior followed by infanticide and cannibalism of the offspring. Savaging in wild boars has been found to have genetic significance. Yeah, so it sounds like it's a natural behavior in some edge cases, but in domestic situations, for whatever reason, is like significantly accentuated. Interesting. Now, anyway, when we come up with our pig race, I'm sure we'll have to mention savaging. Let's continue. Species lives in matriarchal societies consisting of interrelated females and their young, both male and female. Fully grown males are usually solitary outside the breeding season. Gray wolf is a wild boar's main predator, in most of its natural range except in the Far East and the Lesser Sunda Islands, where it is replaced by the tiger and Komodo dragon, respectively. Wild boar has a long history of association with humans, having been the ancestor of the most domestic pig breeds and a big game animal for millennia. Yeah, we have boar around here. I believe they're invasive though. True wild boar became extinct. Are they in the Caribbean? True wild boars became extinct in Great Britain before the development of modern English. The same terms are often... Oh my god, that's so cute. It's a squeaker. Look at him. Still cute. Not cute. Not cute, but holy shit, the balls on that guy. Or the vulva, I can't tell. Jesus. I do know that wild boars, per their body mass, produce the most semen out of like any mammal or something like that. True story. Don't ask me how I know. I studied sperm competition in college. So. The wild boar has a long history. Okay, that's true. Making sure you guys are still paying attention. As true wild boars became extinct, yeah, we went through this. Okay, hunting designations based on their age. I see. Let's see. mtDNA studies indicate that the wild boar resides from the islands of Southeast Asia. In the Philippines, subsequently spread on the mainland Eurasia. That's cool. I'd like to learn more about your ecology. Domestication. Interesting. DNA evidence. Oh, those teeth. Oh. Surprisingly destructive. Cute. The wild boar is a bulky, massive built squid with short, relatively thin legs. The trunk is short and robust, while the hindquarters are comparatively underdeveloped. The region behind the shoulder blades rises into a hump, and the neck is short and thick to the point of being nearly immobile. Animal's head is very large, taking up to 1/3 of the body's entire length. Structure of the head is well suited for digging into frozen ground and can upturn rocks weighing, holy moly, 40 to 50 kilograms. Eyes are small, Deep set and ears long and broad. Species has well developed canine teeth which protrude from the mouths of the adult males. Medial hooves are larger and more elongated than the lateral ones, and they're capable of quick movements. Animal can run at a maximum speed of 40 kilometers. Okay. So, speed. Here, let's. No. So what do we want the speed of our boars to be here? Oops. Yeah. How fast is deer really? Not that fast. Dodgy, but. Won't be a massive build. Sweet. How heavy were they again? It's pretty variable. Average weights of boar. Kilograms, please. Something like 80-ish. Dig around a lot, so size of weight is largely determined by environmental factors. Boars living in arid areas with low productive tend to attain smaller sizes. Contact calls, combat calls, social behavior in life. Cute. Living with female-dominated sounders consisting of barren sows and mothers with young. Huh. And mothers with young led by an old matriarch. Females either remain with their mothers or establish new territories. Subadult males may live in loosely knit groups, while adult and elderly barren sows. How often? Because that would. Does that make them eusocial? I don't see any reason why they would. Oh, doesn't matter for us. Social behavior and life cycle. You piglets, habitat and sheltering behavior. The wild boar inhabits a diverse array of habitats, from boreal taiga to deserts. In mountainous regions, it can occupy the alpine zones. Impressive. Wow, holy moly. Wow. How are we gonna handle that? They don't seem to be. Don't seem to be tropical though. Well, I guess there are some. Yeah, they do exist in the tropics. They're just old world. Wow. So, I feel like almost. How do they handle a cold? Oh, that's how they handle the cold. They don't really live in the taiga. They just live sort of coastal taiga. You don't see them in Siberia. As soon as you get away from the ocean. Alright, so the short answer is they're just not really super cold adaptive. So. Humidity reliance. Preferred temperature. Is fine again. Yeah, 22. Just Canadian boars. Really? Are you serious? I don't see their range here. But it seems like when you get into a cold continental kind of climate, it doesn't seem like they do so well. Question now is we need to get their diet, right? Not very shy. Not very fast. Pretty durable. High activity level. Damage, aggression. Average herd size. 15. Migration propensity. Optimal flatness. Preferred temperature. Okay. Now it comes down to food. I'm gonna take a break soon. We'll do pigs. There are around 1 billion individuals alive at any time. Domestic pig is one of the most numerous animals. Didn't we already do this? Okay, here we go. The southern parts of Sweden, Norway. Oh, that's interesting. Seems like there's actually quite a few more pigs in a group. Let's bump them up to 25 for now. Diseases and parasites, relationships with humans. Nice. Bad pigs. Pigloos, that's right, the pigloos. Yeah, we may want to crank up. Oh, whoops. I think I screwed them up. Oh no, shyness needs to be high, not low. Why the hell's their diet? Here we go. Highly versatile. Oh, I need to rest. Just finish pigs for now. Highly versatile omnivore whose diversity and choice of food is comparative to that of humans. Their foods can be divided into 4 categories: roots, tubers, bulbs, all of which are dug up throughout the year; nuts, berries, seeds, which are custom when ripened and are dug out from the snow when abundant; leaves, bark, twigs, and shoots; earthworms, insects, mollusks, fish, rodents, insectivores, bird eggs, lizards, snakes, frogs, carrion. Impressive. So it sounds like maybe eat some very marginal. Sure, we don't have too much overlap here. 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 5. Alright, I think that's all for me for now. I need to move around, so let's just make sure. Okay, they may need to change this variable to something else later. Whatevs. Alright, I'll see you guys later.